Hi guys, it's Omega. Coming on to show you how I figured out the right combination or the right sandwich to run the Griffin folders through my Big Shot machine. I've had that request from numerous people, and actually today, now we know that it can go through the CuttleBug, so I'm not going to show that one, but I'm actually today going to show you how to run the Griffin folders through the Big Shot, as well as the Spellbinder Grand Calibur. So, yes, I have all three machines because I use all products, and sometimes it's easier to match up your materials with the product that was intended to go with. But the truth is, not everybody has three machines. And someone may have a Big Shot and not have a CuttleBug. Someone may have a Spellbinder machine and not have the Big Shot or the CuttleBug. So I'm kind of obsessive when it comes to trying stuff. So I try everything. And over time, I've collected all three machines. But let me tell you what happened. I don't remember the combination that I did when I first ran one of these through my Big Shot. But when I did that, I literally broke my machine. I was running it through, and it got stuck about midway, and I heard this big pop, like I knew something had broke. I had the hardest time getting it out, but when I finally did get it out, the roller would no longer work. So it would no longer send my platform here through the Big Shot. So I was devastated because I love the Big Shot. In fact, I would say the Big Shot is probably the most flexible machine as far as the different brands of items that you can run through. So it is the most flexible, but you do have to practice using you know, the different materials that wasn't intended for the Big Shot. So I literally took my Big Shot loose. I took it apart. I actually unscrewed some screws down here. I took this apart, and what it was, the side had broken away from the machine, and so I had to reset it in there somehow. Let me tell you, I'm not even sure how I did it, because I was only able to get part of it off, but I was able to reseat my the little metal bar in there, the roller, and get everything back the way it needs to be. I screwed it back together, and now my Big Shot is working again. I was almost in tears because, I mean, I didn't want to have to buy a new one just because. And this one works perfectly fine when I do it right. So guys, I'm just saying that for one, when you're playing with it, just be careful. One rule of thumb that I will use from now on: if it don't fit, don't force it. That's my rule number one. If it don't fit, don't force it. Because there are ways, and you just figure out the way that you know is going to run it through without a problem. So I did. I figured it out. Like I said, I can't even remember the combination I used before, so I can't tell you what combination not to use. And the machines are slightly calibrated differently, but the thing is, if it don't fit, don't force it. That's the major thing there. So I ran it through a couple of times using, without this divider here, and I didn't get a deep enough impression. So what I did is I ran it through that time with this paper, and I did have something in there, and it was a different one, but I ran it through with that, and you always only use one of the cutting plates, just one. I ran it through without that, and it did not make a deep enough impression to me. This is what I got that particular time. And yes, it does make an impression. It looks pretty good, but I knew it could be better. So I ran it through the second time with this, the first thin, number one, oh, what do you call these? The number one sheet on the platform. I ran it through with that. And I'm just going to run through. I'm not going to worry about the center piece. You just know you just add that in. But I'm going to run this through. Another thing that I do, and I suggest you do this on any cardstock that you run through your Big Shot or run through with these folders, because these do make a nice deep impression, but if your cardstock is totally dry, it may crack it. And I had that problem with the paper that is the white core. I don't have one handy now that I can show you, but what I can tell you is it will crack the paper, so it will tear it. The best thing to do is give your paper a quick mist. I probably did too much there, but just kind of spray the paper a little bit, and I just kind of smeared around, let it dry just a bit. So I mist the paper, and then lay that in your folder. I'm going to get it in here evenly. Close that. Use one of the cutting plates, and we're going to run that through. Remember, I'm on the first layer only, one cutting plate, and I'm running it through. I'm flipping that up just so it don't bump against what I have. My table is so full of stuff. And what you're going to get is a beautiful, beautiful impression. Now, the paper is slightly damp, and that's fine. What I usually do, if you can notice, there's a little bit wide border on each side, and I just trim it very close to the design so you have nothing but embossing there. Isn't that gorgeous? When you mist the paper, you're going to get a nice, deep impression. So that is the sandwich that you use with the Big Shot. Now, I'm going to show you a couple other things here. So you use your regular Big Shot platform with the first level you're going to do. So this is the one with nothing. Put that first one down because it's going to give you a much nicer impression. Here's another thing that I did. So, as you all know, when you put your inserts, these are sentiments, sorry. I don't even know what this one is right offhand, but it's happy birthday to you. We can always use birthday, right? So as you'll notice on the bottom of that plate there's a B. My camera's trying to focus. B with an arrow pointing up. On the sentiment, there's a B with the arrow pointing up. So what you want to do is always match B to B, A to A with the arrow pointing upward. Okay, that's nice and tight in there. You want to make sure it's good and tight. Again, camera focus, A, arrow pointing up, A, arrow pointing up. B, arrow pointing up, B, arrow pointing up. That way you know that your sentiment is matching up on the inside. Now, I'm prefacing that with just make sure these are always matching up, because I'm going to show you something else in just a minute. But we're going to run this through again, and I'm just using a piece of paper. I don't know if it's exactly the right size, but just for demo purposes. This cardstock is actually pretty thick, so I kind of wet it down pretty good. So I spritzed my cardstock. Just going to wave it for a minute to let it dry. It doesn't really matter if it warps because you're going to use, you know, something to fix it down on your project. So it's not going to warp once you do that. Okay, so I have that in there with my sentiment, with my one plate, my one level of the platform down. I'm going to run it through. Sorry, that's all shaking around. I've got so much on my table here. Okay. So now you have a beautiful impression there. Gorgeous. And again, I would trim down on the bottom edge and kind of trim that a little bit to get it nice and even. So let me tell you something else you can do here. Just for a change, a little switch up, right? So we know that these both have to be together, pointing upward in order for them to match. But what I'm going to do is flip it so that my B arrow pointing up and my A arrow pointing up are A, B, both pointing upward still. Then we're going to take the B and A on the other side. So what we have is these are matching each other because the words are still going to run through and emboss without any problem. But you're going to get an interesting, nice little effect that will be kind of nice for a change, right? We all like to do things where, you know, don't have to have the same thing all the time. And I'm one that's good for trying stuff that I haven't seen anybody else do. And I'm not going to break my machine. How about that? So I'm going to put this in here. Make sure that this is going to snap perfectly together. And we're going to send that one through, and I'll show you the neat effect you're going to have. Okay, we're going to run it through. Sorry, guys. And what you're going to get is simply this. What you get is the sentiment is embossed, but you now have the design in a debossed. Design is debossed. The sentiment is embossed. And so what you would have, now this is some paper that is the white core, as you can see. So this is the kind of paper that you would sand if you want to. So you can have it where you're just going to sand the sentiment to make it stand out. Like that. Or you can sand this whole thing, which is going to give you a lot more area to distress. And it's simply going to give you the opposite effect than if you were having this as your raised area. So it's just the opposite. So the interesting thing here, though, you have to have your sentiment embossed. It won't deboss and come out in the right direction. It would be backwards. So for a change, or just for something different, you can deboss, but have that embossed. And the only thing you're doing is putting your A and B on the same side, but you have to make sure your arrows are always pointing upward. As long as you're pointing upward, your words are always going to match together on the inside. So I thought I'd just show that. I was trying to figure out a way, oops, sorry, dropped my folder. I was trying to figure out a way to have that deboss in the sentiment, but that is not going to be possible. But it is fun to know that you can do something a little different. That's embossed, that's debossed. So that's kind of great. So guys, I just wanted to make sure that you know you can run it through the Big Shot. I was so afraid to even try it for fear of destroying my machine. But I said, you know what? This is not going to beat me, and I'm going to figure it out. And I did. So I had several other people say they ran theirs through. I don't remember if they used the same exact way that I did it. But that's how I'm doing it on here. And it works perfectly, perfectly. Now, here's something interesting that you will be able to use the Anna Griffin folders if all you have is a Spellbinder. So say all you have is the Spellbinder machine. Always spritz your paper. And this is not going to do the whole thing, but I'm going to run this through the Anna Griffin folder. Like so. And here's the trick. If you do not have the Big Shot or the CuttleBug, you will need to get both plates. They come in a pair, so you would get the set of plates for, I would say, this one is the ones for my, spritz my paper once again. Have it a little too damp. I'm going to run this through the Grand Calibur machine. Now, granted, they will tell you they will not warranty your machine if you're using, you know, if you don't use it the way they say use it. But it's your machine. And I do experiment, as you know. So I'm going to run this through once again, the Grand Calibur with 2 of the replacement plates for either CuttleBug or the Big Shot. Use your Anna Griffin folder and you get a perfect result. And as you can see here, with spritzing that, there is no tearing of the paper at all. And there you have it. So you can use probably any of the machines on the market if you get the right combinations. But with the Grand Calibur, it's the both plates, the folder sandwiched between the 2 plates with your cardstock, of course. Run that through. And I mean, it gives a perfect impression. It's just deep enough. And as you can see, putting it through the Big Shot, you get a perfect. Remember, the Big Shot combination is a little bit different. So there you go, guys. I just wanted to come on and let you know I conquered my fear and I didn't break my machine. So you can use all 3 machines. We all know how to do it on the CuttleBug, and there's tons of other videos out there on the CuttleBug, but you can use your Grand Calibur. You can use your Big Shot. So guys, whatever machine you have fun using your Anna Griffin folders. And then another thing that's interesting, the one reason I bought out the Grand Calibur is I have found out that Spellbinder will soon have, I think next month, August, will have folders just like this, or very similar, where they have mix and match sentiments. So they're made up just the way Anna Griffin's are. So guys, have fun. Go out and just have yourself a ball. You can use either of the machines and just knock yourself out. And remember what I showed you about the, where's the one that I did? I did 2 of them, I think. Remember what I showed you about the fact that you can put through your sentiment as an emboss and the design as a deboss. I mean, it works just fine. And that's just for something a little different, you know, if you want to do something a little different. So, there you go. Have fun, guys. Bye.